talk about it, show concern for people. I'm not saying you should pamper them and spend all your day laughing with. Don't overdo it. But once in a while, show concern for people. Take time out with them. Talk to them. Praise them for a job well done. Especially when you know that they work very hard. Sometimes when you see that your staff have really worked very hard on a job, and you know that this job was like almost like I won't say like on the bus. It was really tough for them. You could see the stress they went through. But you know that the management is not going to increase their salary based on that. As far as management is concerned, it's their job. So once in a while, just okay, just buy malt for everybody to drink. And somebody was asking me that if you start doing that, when they start expecting every time, I said no, it's not like that. And in a year I might just do it twice. Not somewhere every time, no, just once in a while. When I can't do it, I say, oh, thank you very much. They know that I appreciate it.
My name is Wesley Walter. I'm an electrical engineer. I've been working as a facilities supervisor for say about a year and 2 months now. It's been an interesting experience. I came for this program because I wanted to know more about facility management. I want to be a professional in facility management. I want to be certified in facility management. I actually thought that facility management is basically for engineers or for professionals, but today I learned that being a facility manager, you don't have to be an engineer. It encompasses all professions, and it actually opened my eyes to so many things. You know, being able to manage escalations, crises, you know, and all that. It was a very interesting class. It's really been a very impactful session.
Even if I don't perform that task, as far as I'm in that team, I should be aware of what the standard says, what the procedure says. Now, this is for two obvious reasons. One is cross-training purposes. We need to make sure that everybody in a team understands what everyone else does and can actually perform in those roles. The silos we've created in the built environment where an electrician cannot replace a valve, a carpenter cannot replace a bulb, it's a problem that we only have here, and it's a poor productivity issue. So cross-training is the key. Standard SOPs are 1, 2 for cross-training. Step 1 is Mr. A. Step 2 to 5 is Mr. B. And there's nothing in the steps for Mr. C. Should Mr. C also be trained on this process? The answer is yes. Everybody in the team should be trained together, should have access to the same information. There should be nothing that, oh, because Mr. A does this, he should be the one that knows, what's related to that. Because Mr. B does this, he should be the only one knowing what is related to that. No, that's a very bad practice. Even if I don't perform that task, as far as I'm in that team, I should be aware of what the standard says, what the procedure says. Now, this is for two obvious reasons. One is cross-training purposes. We need to make sure that everybody in a team understands what everyone else does and can actually perform in those roles. The silos we've created in the built environment where an electrician cannot replace a valve, a carpenter cannot replace a bulb, is a problem that we only have here, and it's a poor productivity issue. So cross-training is the key. Standard SOPs are 1, 2 for cross-training.
Good day, everyone. A quick testimony about Facilities Management Mastercraft Diploma, a program I decided to do this year. I must say it's one of the best decisions I made this year so far. all the 28 courses, inclusive of field trips and the projects, they are very key to facilities management, I must say. Personally, from my own hand, I've been able to make some adjustments. Particularly, I've been able to come up with reports, that reflects the mind of the management, because I'm more aware of the way they think. In addition to that, I've been able to come up with analysis, specifically one that I'm doing right now as to power, requested by one of our EDs. All right, this could have been outsourced. So in a way, I've saved cost for our organization. Okay. Also, I must say I got a commendation from my boss recently. One of the courses we learned, for example, is workplace productivity. I put some of the things that we learned to use, and I believe that's the reason I'm able to earn this commendation from my direct boss, right? So I must say, generally speaking, I'm unconscious of the spaces I manage, their conditions, and not just how to maintain our assets right now, but how to manage them, right? I'm more aware of industry standards, and I'm making some adjustments already, okay? That doesn't just look at cost savings, but also impact on the people that use our spaces and the environment at large. So thank you, Max-Migold. Thank you, Mr. Paul, and all the instructors. God bless you.
My name is Toby, a graduate of the Mastercraft Facility Management course. And I'm here to tell you the truth, and nothing else but the truth. This course is amazing, totally amazing. It has changed my concept about facility management. It has changed my view about facility management. It has made me a better facility manager. I urge you, if you want to take this course, do not delay. This course is good. It will aid you in proper facility condition assessment. It will aid you in your preventive maintenance. It will aid you in general building fabrics maintenance. You understand different types of fabrics. You have a proper emergency plan. You know how to plan for emergencies, whether it's a fire outbreak, whether it's theft. You know these things. They teach you from the scratch. You learn a lot. I have learned a lot. Everybody that knows me knows that I've learned a lot. My team lead is so happy for me. He's so happy about my progress, so happy about my achievement, and I'm proud of myself, because at the end of the day, I can proudly tell you that I'm a very good facility manager, because I underwent training, proper training. Proper, when I say proper, quote me, proper training. Facility management to the core, from the basics to the topmost, even finance, they even taught us how to, oh my God, this course is still good. Sign up for the course. I don't know what to say anymore. It's so exciting. I'm out of words. There is no better place than Max-Migold. If you want to grow in facility management, no better place than Max-Migold.
The head of projects in Doctorate. It's a great pleasure that I'm very happy I'm invited to this skill training program, which we call Facility Management Program. It's been very good and very nice. The training was well structured. And the interesting thing is that the whole content of the training goes beyond being useful to one as an individual. It's also something that one can say that is very beneficial to him as an individual to use at home. I want to say that we are very grateful to the facilitator, especially when he has made this program to be free and improving the loss of the people. It's a way of his own giving back to the system. We appreciate him, we thank him a lot. And we also thank Notori for providing an enabling environment, good training structure and facilities that were provided for the successful addition out of the training. We thank everybody for coming despite the problem of the road, especially the broken bridge. You can see how important the training seems to be to people. Thank you very much for everyone, and we want to say that we wish the instructor and the trainer a safe journey back to Lagos.
Gets almost everything right. Every decision that we take will align with corporate strategy on an ongoing basis. Every action, every step we take will lead to more optimized use of resources, cutting out of wastage. We'll have more and more of what our organizations need and less of what they don't need. Value streams. And then we will be able to focus on people, listen for needs and expectations, and fulfill in a way that aligns with needs and expectations. That is where facility management should be. Okay, so the competence of managing assets, maintaining assets. If you use a computerized maintenance management system where the work order for the generator servicing is generated online, you can automate adding the SOP or WMS for that generator servicing as part of that document. So it comes out with the task, responsible party, the time should take, materials to be used, all of the information that the work order carries, plus an outline of how that service should be performed. So we are not only training the new people that are coming on board on how we do things, we are constantly reminding everyone that are in the team of the need to comply with how we have agreed to get things done. That is what is going to produce consistency in outcome. We do space utilization calculations. You probably see so many of those spaces that are just languishing, idling, because they've been locked up for one person who is in the field most of the time. If you think about the individual's well-being and the spaces where they work, and you figure out economic ways to, adjustments to improve economy, for example, adjustments to improve well-being, adjustments to improve oxygen flow and level of concentration to be more productive. Can you make adjustments to create additional different types of swing spaces with different features? They can create both visual and mental relaxation by just moving from one point to another, having breakout rooms, having telephone booths to reduce conversations, noise, and so on and so forth, having printer room that does not share the noise or distribute that noise across the entire. There's so much you can do as an FM to evolve space planning, at least as a basic, ensure that your spaces meet the minimum statutory or regulatory requirements.
My experience on this place is quite breathtaking. From the 13th floor to the ground floor, just seeing things that I've not seen before. So, for example, we talked about the water chillers. We talked about the way things are in the building management system. It's talked about the future. This building is a gold standard for the future buildings, and I believe that more people should come over to assess the building, to know its functionality, and come to terms with what I believe is the future of buildings. This is the first building I've seen in this country that has really, really been so impressive. And I believe that this is just the beginning of great things to come.
Wake wake up after doing something that is less important to realize that you need money for something that is more important. Like you not think about when you were doing that thing that is less important yesterday. That's the height of failure in managing finances. Health, safety, environment, competencies. We are moving away from just the mere basic provision of spaces and services. FM is now more focused on well-being of the individual. So in the past, it's a case of prevent injuries and accidents. But now, it is a total well-being package, including mental health.
Even in energy management, I was able to reduce our diesel consumption to 30% reduction. So Max-Migold, the FMC training has really impacted me in person, and I sincerely want to thank all the facilitators, Mr. OC, Ms. Roslyn, and everyone that's anchored, people that are not, the trainers that are not here. I sincerely appreciate everyone, and I want to sincerely assure Max-Migold and Mr. Paul Erubami that I will continue to be a good ambassador of Max-Migold. I will continue to drive the vision to the expected end that he has projected. Thank you so much.
Show concern. I always talk about the show concern for people. I'm not saying you pamper them and spend all your day laughing with. Don't overdo it. But once in a while, show concern for people.
Hello, good afternoon, friends out there. My name is Iboro Thompson. I want to express my appreciation to Max-Migold, who have equipped me today as a full-time facility manager through sustainability, through operation, and through maintenance. This is loaded right now, and I can confirm today I am effective. I am ready to take the facility to the next level. So if you are a facility manager out there still contemplating, go to Max-Migold. Right there, they're gonna lift you up. They're gonna give you all you want. They're gonna build you up so that you can manage your facility effectively, so that you can have an effective, sustainable facility. Max-Migold is right there for you to build you up, to train you up, and to brush you up. I can guarantee you, they are running discount right now. You can go, hurry up, and get your deal, and get yourself started on a discount rate. I assure you. I used to use this opportunity to thank all the facilitators. They were up and doing at all time, putting us through the night hours classes. I mean, it was incredible. Appreciate all of them. Appreciate Mr. Paul. Appreciate Max-Migold. And I welcome every one of you out there yet to embrace the full facility diploma course. Go ahead and achieve your facility management diploma course. By then, I would say, welcome to the industry. Thank you, Max-Migold. Thank you, facilitators, and thank you for making me who I am today. Appreciate it. God bless Max-Migold. Bye-bye.
If you don't consult the actual people doing the work, you probably may make some wrong assumptions. Feedback, surveys, questionnaires can give you a lot of information. For example, someone could be working and you are thinking this person needs calm, quiet space for deep dive into his project. But the person actually needs the chatter to keep him focused or to give him ideas pick up on vibes around him to deliver on that job. So don't make any assumption. Collect regular inputs through surveys, suggestion boxes, digital platforms. Use those feedback to determine what the pain points are and improve user satisfaction, engage occupants in decision making to boost ownership and acceptance. And this is very important.
Real world consequence of deferring action. What are the consequences when you deferred a lot of action that you ought to have taken in terms of maintenance activity? It will result in increased repair and replacement costs due to worsening asset condition. When you needed to perform your normal routine maintenance on your generator, you delay it. This could result into a total breakdown of your generator. And the total breakdown will also tend to maybe possibly you need to do what we call asset replacement. You need to do what we call asset replacement or an outright replacement of that particular asset. So that's why the deferred maintenance are not needed. Your maintenance activity are not needed to be what? Delayed beyond the necessary. Unexpected equipment failure.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Paul Erubami. It's another pleasure for me. It's a great pleasure for me to meet with you again today in another session of the FM Lunch Hour. And we have been running through series on workplace productivity, personal productivity. We've been running through technical sessions in this Lunch Hour series. And I think it's time we start looking at some business aspects of our profession. It's important that we start thinking beyond the day-to-day activities we perform. FM as a profession is a business unit. It's an industry in itself. It's an economy. Every economy has both the private and the public aspect of it. And so we're trying to look at this from the standpoint of a public-private partnership. What kind of business opportunities do exist? How do we contribute to the national economy through facility management by harnessing public-private synergy for sustainable facility management is what we're looking at today. So building better together. Before we dive into it, I would like to just remind us that at Max-Migold, we have a series of programs. But our flagship, the FM Mastercraft Diploma, is preparing for the next batch, which is going to come up and start on the 12th of January 2026. That class is already being filled, and we encourage everyone to take advantage of the bonanza we have. In October, we gave all those who paid for the program 200,000 naira off. And one person even enjoyed an additional scholarship of extra 200,000 naira of paid by a philanthropist. People come up every now and then to sponsor, candidates for our training. And so that lucky female candidate won that for the month of October. In the month of November, we've had a couple also take on the 150,000 naira discount. It's going to run between now and the end of the month. So if you want to enjoy 150,000 naira discount, please, this is the time to register and join. We're inviting companies, corporate organizations, and well-meaning individuals to sponsor their staff and sponsor people that are looking for a foot in the door economically, foot in the door in the sense that we provide not just the training, we also place you for work. So if you've had someone trying to transition, struggling with a career, not having a headway, and is looking for something refreshing, new, and in high demand, please point them towards facility management and we'll take care of the rest. We'll give you all the training, take them through the rigor and professional paradigm shifts, and then place them in profitable jobs. So this is a call to well-spirited, individuals who have, resources to support others to become self-reliant. Please bring them on board the FM Mastercraft Diploma. Classes start on January 12th. By the end of November, the 150,000 naira discount will be gone, and then we'll be offering a 10% discount to the 20th of December. So from November 30th to 20th December, you'll be getting 10% off the listed price of 950,000 and 750,000 physical and virtual classes option. From December 20th to the start of class until we end admission into the program in January, the full payment will be required for anyone joining. For those who are taking the installment payment, the payment option is already on now. So you already should have paid a month, 2 months, getting to the third month, so that your installment payment would have ended. If you are taking the 6 months, it ends in the month of January. If you're taking the 3 months, it ends in the month of January. It doesn't matter when you start paying. So because there is a time for installment payments to end, barely a month or the month into the program, then it's better you start now to take that opportunity if you want to run that path. Okay. So that's the FM Mastercraft Diploma. We provide asset tagging for organizations. We provide software for maintenance and operations. We provide all kinds of advisory, setting up your estates, consultancy services. Come to Max-Migold and we'll solve all these problems for you. For smart buildings, energy efficiency, everything from diesel tanks monitoring to generator to building energy consumption at every level and smart solutions. Please reach out to Max-Migold and we'll provide these solutions for you. Okay. We have a very robust referral program. So for those who are, information on organizations and individuals looking for these services, please feel free to approach them, make the introduction, and you'll be greatly rewarded for doing that, working with us in Max-Migold. Okay, so back to our session for today. If you are with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on on X, on Zoom, on YouTube, please drop in a comment, drop a question, whatever it is for us to respond. We have a WhatsApp group and a Telegram group. If you are not yet in any of those two groups, I think it's high time you also take advantage of that. Conversations going on in these groups are for professional advancement and growth and information on opportunities that we normally will share, including job opportunities and training opportunities like the ones we're having in the lunch hour. Okay. All right. So after completing this today's session, we expect to be able to understand how public-private partnerships are structured, how to understand them within facility management, and then the various models for PPP in sustainable facility management, how risk and financial performance are measured, successes and challenges, and strategies for fostering effective and sustainable public-private sector participation. Why are we doing this? Like I said, when we move through personal development, professional development, we're also going to be talking business. And so today we're talking business in the FM space. So this is why we're looking at public-private partnerships. What typically happens for most individuals in the career of facility management, you find a training, you learn facility management, you find a job, you get employed, and then you work for a certain number of years and you think about starting a business and you start an FM company and you start looking for contracts, you start prospecting for business. Some people don't want to even work, so they didn't even start working in the first place. They just go ahead and prospect for business. And then what we are always focusing on is a new contract. We win the contract, we execute, we operate, and then we just keep on and on and on like that. But you see, as you become bigger, you become more exposed to larger portfolios, right? So starting off, there are so many pre-qualification hurdles that will prevent you from bidding for large-scale projects. You need to show some financial stability, bank, balances that show that you can fund client projects. In some instances, you have to have documentations and certifications to work in certain industries like oil and gas. You have to have certain documentations and certifications to work for the government in the public sector, be registered with the Bureau for Public Enterprise, and so on and so forth. So instead of continuing to stay small and play small, it's important for FM companies, to start working towards showing evidence of capacity. And so all of those things, as simple as HMO for your staff, pay tax, insurance, compliance with the tax authorities, tax clearance, having your audited account, and doing your annual returns with the CAC, paying for things like NSITF, that's Social Insurance Trust Fund, and the ITF in the training fund. Contributed to all of those things. These are statutory contributions that you need to have certificates of compliance for, so that you can be qualified to be available for to be considered for big ticket jobs. And then as you build capacity, develop processes, have a quality management system, you have tools and templates for executing different things, you bring aboard the software, for example, you are all showing evidence that you are growing as a facility management company. But the focus has always been, as I build this capacity, I'll show it to companies and tell them I can manage your facilities. I go to the banks, the hospitals, to the hotels, to the airports, to different churches, and pitch to them that I can provide services to them. And so we all tend to focus on that private sector pitching, because there's so much we don't know about how to take on government opportunities, right? Public sector opportunities. But every now and then you see an advertisement from this agency, the tax agency, the airport authority, from the ministry of this and that, from central bank, advertising services and requiring private sector facility management companies to bid for these jobs. Now, these are also part of trying to win contracts, trying to put our best foot forward, show documentation that will qualify, put a commercial offer, and hope that we win the job, and so on and so forth, right? But there's so much more opportunity within the public sector that is not being taken advantage of. public-private partnership tends to unite those two sectors in how to manage risk sharing, resource sharing, rewards for facility services. Oversight and private efficiency. There's always that awareness, that understanding that in the private sector there's more efficiency and innovation, but in the public sector there's more regulatory, oversight, and that's their focus. But public facilities tend to suffer more from neglect, from lack of proper programs to maintain them. There's also this issue of competence. We can't run away from that reality. In the public sector, capacity to manage facilities professionally may not necessarily exist. And that might be because of the typical hiring silos approach, where you hire engineers for engineering maintenance of specific aspects of engineering equipment and assets. And that's now limits the professional basis on which facility management should be practiced in the public sector. So in this, if you now are a facility manager and you're thinking of going into the public sector, there are two routes. I want to go get a contract so I can manage and show that I can apply best practices in managing public sector assets. I could also go in and put forward a collaboration agreement, a proposal, where I can, because if you go to most agencies, ministries, and tell them you're here, you want to see how you can support facility management, you'll be brought to face the reality of the public sector bureaucracies, right? Oh, don't worry, when we need the services, we'll publish. And then when you see it in the publications, those are standard rules that exist. So it's not a situation where you can just walk up to a director and they will just sit down with you, hash out a proposal for the management, and then award you a contract. There are very strict rules. And so you need to work out some kind of collaborative approach where you come in and say, look, I can partner and do this and that and that and that. Again, that still goes through some kind of process. And when the chips are down, the publication is made for companies to bid for such concessions, participation in any of the models we'll be talking about will come to pass. So it starts with that consulting inputs, an FM consultant who is able to develop the right documentation to publish, to get the right FM companies to bid and win this contract. Okay? So private expertise and financing can help to improve service delivery of assets and facility management within the public sector. There's always budget constraints, but there's a vast resource within the public sector that is mostly untapped. If you go to large federal hospitals, for example, airports, any government-owned property, you can see large spaces, you can see land, you can see, all kinds of things that hold economic value in prime locations that could be optimized to generate the revenue that can help to manage, operate, and kind of revamp these spaces. But it doesn't always happen because it's not so straightforward, and it requires some kind of collaborative intervention between both parties. So talking about types and structures of PPP agreements, you could be providing a service in exchange for some kind of benefits or payments. It could be a situation where you are told, you know what, just take this area and build something, operate it, and transfer back. While you're operating it, of course, you put your money into it. If it's a design, build, finance, operate, you put your money into it or get a bank to fund it. and then you run it for 20 years, 30 years. The government will use it for government functions, but you will have commercial spaces to manage. We've had two key situations in Lagos, especially that I'm aware of, where PPP arrangements have been advertised and put out in the public. For example, when the Oshodi Transport Interchange came about, there's so many commercial spaces that needed to be rented out. So the arrangement would typically be, come in, manage those spaces where they rent on our behalf, manage the facilities, make sure cleaning and maintenance is done across board. Would agree on what your fees would be for doing that. Usually such conversations would require a win-win arrangement. Both parties must understand what's the need for them. There will be some level of guarantees in terms of I put my money into it to tidy up the place, to advertise, commercialize the space. I don't want to hear that there's a break in transmission and, I no longer have rights to continue and so on and so forth. So firm agreements, very important. Clear definition of scope. Responsibility is clearly defined in such contracts, and all the lawyers need to be involved in making sure that everything is as planned. So you could be at a basic level where we all operate right now is the providing a service for cleaning. I want to clean the ports, airports. I want to do maintenance. I want to do. So they put all of those ones out in normal bidding. They could give a management contract. We've had agencies where management contract is given out where somebody in the private sector is selected through a bidding process to become the operator. So when you become the operator, what that means is that you're managing all the other service providers, ensuring that efficiency is maintained, scopes are delivered, and the contractual obligations of all the service providers are understood and implemented. Now, there's also the lease agreement option where a public facility can be leased out. So when you have places like National Theatre, you have the International Conference Center, you have facilities, maybe old assembly buildings, old secretariat buildings, and so on and so forth, where the government can lease it as is. A private organization can take it on and pay government a lump sum lease amount and then invest in, putting it to use. This can apply to facilities like guest houses in universities where university cannot really make it profitable because of the continuous spending you need to put on it. You get a third party to come and lease the guest house. Some universities now make a lot of money from their halls, event halls, and then they just put that into a lease agreement where a private organization comes in, leases it long term, and then begins to rent it out to generate money. The university or the government gets a bulk amount, and you throw in your investment to clean up, tidy up, repair, renovate, make it attractive, and start selling the spaces. And then there are those that require from scratch before something is even built. University could decide, or you could come up with a proposal. I can build a hostel. It's going to be eventually transferred to the university. Eventually, I know there's a huge demand for housing for your students, and there's land within the campus or around the campus where I can set up such projects. It also applies to hospitals. Nowadays, you see hospitals now having private sector organizations. There's a very fine model I've noticed in LUT, where you have private organizations come in, build nursing homes, build wards and wings where people who come for treatment, there's congestion in the public areas, can opt for higher fee options with a private care within the same facility, and they are able to see the same doctors, and then for a certain number of years, the revenue is collected, from that facility, and the property remains the property of the government or the hospital that owns it. And this can apply to virtually everything. Airports will have shopping malls. Secretariats will have, restaurants and other spaces for events, for meetings, co-working hubs, and so on and so forth. There's so much space already. But even when there's no space, there will be land in most of these areas where you can mute such developments, build them, and then start, monetizing it. The important thing is to have guarantees that when these investments are put in place, there will be guarantees that there will be no sudden change in terms of engagements. And the private sector that takes on the risk should have a kind of a connection of that contract to sovereign guarantee, so that the country is obliged, by law to defend those contracts. The design, build, finance, operates is, similar to the build, operate, and transfer. The only added functionality or requirement here is that you have to fund it. So this is where an FM company would typically struggle with finding the funding from internal sources. But if you involve a development agency, or organization, or a bank, or an insurance company where they have, or a pension group where they have money, it will be easy to fund very large projects. Structures like this can help the government build more stock, provide solutions, increase capacity, while at the same time not spending the money up front and still maintaining regulatory oversight and ownership over the assets that are being invested in. And then there are concession agreements, which allows private entities to operate public facilities for a fixed term while ownership stays public. So this is for already existing properties and assets. Someone can be allowed to come and take concession, and typical concession we've had recently in Nigeria is the airports, where you have the Max-Migold Group build a whole terminal, the MM2. With attendants, massive facilities for shopping, hotels, and other infrastructure added to it. So the stock of properties owned by the government has increased, but the government didn't have to spend the money. After 20, 30 years of running it and getting their money back, meanwhile, the government also gets fees, taxes, royalties from that process. It reverts back as owned by the government. Okay, so it's always a win-win. The activity and the investment brought in by the private sector, benefits the government in a lot of ways, because it increases what the government has. It provides services to the population, to the users. Think about the number of people that pass through such an airport over the years, and how the impact of such an investment have been for the government. Because if that facility wasn't there and there was overcrowding and all those bad reputation about how services are not working well and have low capacity, it's making the government irresponsive to the needs of the people. Private sector can help take that burden and that pressure off if the government can just honor its contracts to the private sector. So making this work, if there's no one single rule globally, some organizations, some countries are more highly regulated than others. In a country like Nigeria, there's a concessionary company. There's a company that is specifically an organization, specifically developed or put in place by the government to manage concessions. So whenever ideas pass through them, they are the ones that will probably engage on a continuous basis. But individual private sector operators need to come up with clear plans, show evidence that you have the means, show evidence that you have the will to make the investment and push it through. Okay. So the laws of procurement, the regulations in the country are tight for virtually every country. So it's to understand them. There needs to be a team of investors, lawyers, accountants. You know, it's not just a facility management thing. This is big. This is FM elevating itself to the business, to the economy, to the level of mega projects. Instead of waiting all the time at the sidelines for projects to be developed, and then we'll be invited to come and bid for the services or management or operations. It's important that every now and then some well-meaning professional or practitioner within our midst is able to pull the kind of network and the kind of team together to push a proposal to a PPP level. Clear legal frameworks define roles, responsibilities, and dispute resolution mechanism. Institutional agencies oversee project approval, compliance, and contract management. Transparent governance structures promote accountability and public trust. Strong legal backing ensures long-term project stability and investor confidence. There's everything to do with investor confidence. If one person invests in a public-private partnership project and some negative turns, maybe from political interference or from any other concern, now puts that investment at risk, it makes everyone else to shy off. You know, both international and local investors will not want to touch a country where investors are not being respected or not being allowed to enjoy the fruit of their labor after they've invested. So I think this is something that we just have to look at the context of our own country and you know, research more into success stories. I think that's something I probably would need to do more. We all need to look at possible success stories in the concessionaires database and then see how it has been working so that we can know where to tap into. Much opportunity exists in Nigeria, but not many people know where these opportunities exist. And so it's good to stay close to certain government information sources, especially the websites of these agencies. Many of them have very robust websites where data and details of transactions are published, but they don't necessarily do anything to market it specially. So you can see that people are actually been benefiting from PPP projects. So you probably need to do some more research and you know, tap into opportunities. And when I do more of this research and come up with an outline, I'll probably have another session where we'll talk about what has worked in PPP, what opportunities there still exist to do more things with the government and public sector in Nigeria. Identifying, sharing, and managing risk effectively starts PPPs with clear understanding of financial, operational, technical, and political risk. Risk management is the most important aspect of PPPs. A few days ago, I saw the news about, you know, contractors who've been given contracts, who've executed a contract in the last 3-4 years, even 5 years ago, holding meetings, making protests about not being paid, right? So that's itself a red flag. If people deliver services to the government is expected to make you know, fulfill its obligation to these parties. So having contracts that are tight, you know, that are enforceable by the judicial system would help, you know, push this PPP agenda further. Assign risks to the party best able to manage them, ensure transparency and documentation for fair enforceable risk sharing. There's nothing in a PPP agreement that should be assumed. There's nothing that should be like, okay, so We are all mature. We all understand. Everything should be documented, as should be in every form of contracts, even between private sector players and service providers and private sector organizations. You need to have very clear, very detailed contracts. You don't need to say a contract is too long. It can't be too long when it comes to getting it right, because if you miss out any items, it can become a risk point of failure of such a contract, and commitments that have been made up front would end up being jeopardized. Because someone's going to put its money into a joint venture or a collaboration in a PPP arrangement, there has to be clear transparency of how much is coming in and how much to expect back. There should be no hidden agenda. Financial transparency should form the foundation of trust and sustainability in public-private arrangements. There has to be clear budgeting, cost tracking, and auditing practices to prevent misuse and ensure funds are effectively allocated. It's not enough to say putting 50 billion into this project, and the government says, okay, here's the land, go ahead and build. No. I want to put in 50 billion, thank you, but how do you intend to spend 50 billion? Every naira needs to be accounted for. And the government that says this is the land also says this is the value of the land. That's put into the contract. And so as you're spending every naira of your 50 billion, both parties, including third-party auditors, are paying attention, checking to be sure everything is done right. Because if you don't put in that 50 billion, and the contract says you have to recoup maybe 100 billion over 20 years or whatever number of years, and you don't execute right, your money doesn't come back. That's what it shows like to the public. It looks as if there's been a failure of the government who received your funds, whereas you spent your fund yourself, you mismanaged it. So the control is both ways. Both public and private needs to check themselves when doing the execution. Every disbursement must be controlled in such a way that who takes the subcontracts, who executes what, who is paid what, at what time. For example, decisions like whether to pay somebody upfront or to pay after the person has delivered needs to be agreed as part of the master contract. So you don't end up coming back to tell stories about how people receive monies and then didn't implement what they should implement. Clear budgeting, cost tracking, and auditing practices prevent misuse and ensure funds are effectively allocated. Open book financial models promote fairness by allowing both parties to review and validate expenditures, both parties. So if I'm the one bringing my money in, it looks as if I am the one with the upper hand, that the contract should favor me to ensure I don't lose my money, but the contract should also, watch me to ensure that I don't on my own mismanage my money and try to make claims on others, because most of the time you see cases coming out about liability for funds. The person whose funds was involved was also involved himself in mismanaging his own funds and trying to make claims from others. So that kind of control is very important. Full accountability is the foundation for any effective partnership, let alone public-private partnership. And then performance measurement is very key. Performance measurement ensures that partners in a public-private partnership arrangement meet agreed quality, efficiency, and reliability. You would have seen in recent times this trend they call JVs in our real estate sector, where, and this is still private to private, where one person owns the land, another person comes in with the money, and maybe the development expertise, to build, operate, and probably divide the property in terms of I take some units, you take some units, we rent out, like that to recoup our investment. And then you sign a contract to say, I have this land, you build 20 units of 5-bedroom duplex on it, and then you own 10, I own 10, and after 25 years or after 50 years, you've recouped your money from the tenant that you own and you return it back to me, whatever arrangements that is. But the point is, if I agree to that, I have to also sign up to the quality of development I'll put on that land. Because there's a way to build so shabbily that, there's nothing left after 50 years or 25 years, right? So there will really be no sense in signing such an agreement when it will look as if my land will become bare the way it was now 50 years later when it's coming back to me, right? So what quality, what standard, what grades of materials and workmanship will be built in, that control is very important. How much will be spent? What amenities, infrastructure will be provided? How the value of the property would be sustained over time should all be put into measurements that can be quantifiable. So on an annual basis, the inspection will be done, fatigue condition assessment will be done, insurance will be covered, evaluation will be done to ensure that throughout the concession period, that first, what was promised is what was built, and throughout the concession period, the operations and maintenance, are kept to standard so that we don't have a steep degradation curve that runs the facility down, sweat seats to the end before it becomes useless to the owner. So both parties have that level of accountability to have to each other. So and same thing applies to public sector. If you are involved in the public sector, even if you, of course, it's not your own, you're the public sector official, ensure that your good name can go before you or after you, because over time, the story will be told of how the transactions went and how those transactions, whether they gave the best results to the common good or they did not. And then, of course, innovation, technology, and sustainability plays a role. Innovation improves efficiency and service quality through smarter processes. Technology enables real-time monitoring, predictive maintenance, and data-driven decisions. Tools like BIM, IoT, CAFM, are all very helpful in managing the life cycle, operations maintenance of the process, and then boost sustainability. So what is now being built into projects now are not just the technology that building should be built to have more modern outlook, even if it's low cost economic models that are being deployed, they should have a modern technology-backed feel. And then sustainability is being built in. So you start hearing about how we can, design for certain building certification, green building certifications like EDGE and the others, because at the end of the day, your focus is not just to build, it's a life cycle thing. And sustainability helps that process because it reduces utility costs, operational costs, maintenance costs, if you can build in sustainability into it. And then technology also helps to provide transparency. We are moving to an era now where if I invest in a property, wherever I am in the world, I need to be able to have a sense of what's happening in that property, right? I need to have remote access into information on the property. I should be able to zoom in on Google, for example, and see that the property is still in place, be able to experience some things like, ensure that there's fire control, there are insurance documentations in place, there are compliance with land use and other tenement rates and things like that. And then on an annual basis, once valuation is done, I get a copy to let me know that that investment is still in place. So these are tools not just for managing, but also for informing and keeping owners and investors in the loop on how things are going on the ground. Policy and governance strength shaping PPP adoption. Governments adopt PPP to close infrastructure and service gaps efficiently. Regulatory reforms boost transparency, accountability, and fair risk sharing. Policy now stress sustainability, digital transformation, and social value. Capacity building and standard contracts improve governance and execution. global best practices align local PPPs with international standards. So because this is something that is happening all over the world, it's also it's good to not just of course we are building our own PPP policies and standards based on local requirements and existing laws. We're also learning from countries that have deployed PPPs in the past and made good success out of it. How to build stronger public-private collaboration frameworks. Clear communications can help to build trust and shared goals. Define roles and performance expectations in structured agreements. The agreements cannot be too detailed. You can't have too many experts on an agreement. Yeah, sometimes when people talk about agreement, they just think about lawyers. No, lawyers are not just the people that write agreements. Lawyers piece together what experts have already put together as the terms. Lawyers are not the experts in the terms. Lawyers, in many cases, even struggle to understand the full scope of terms of real estate and property transactions. So you have financial experts, you have investors, you have auditors, you have insurance people, you have taxation experts, all, pouring through. You have risk management experts, you have facility management and property managers, you have surveyors of all types pouring through to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed before you get the lawyer to piece them together into a whole that you can now say we have a ready contract that we can execute for this PPP. Okay, so our conversation today has been, a bit of our usual track of personal development, professional development, technical knowledge, into the business track of facility management at a business, at a level that we most often don't think about as professionals in the built environment. So I think it's time we begin to look at the big picture, begin to look at opportunities within the public sector. A few years ago, I was involved in working on a proposal to digitize fiscal assets for Lagos State government. And we proposed a software, an enterprise-grade software, and the sheer number of facilities that are going to be cataloged and inventoried into the system was mind-boggling. Think of all the schools, the hospitals, the police stations, the community centers, health centers, offices of all the government departments and parastatals across the state. At some point, we just had to say, you know what, let's do a proof of concept starting with 10,000 buildings. You know what that means? That's a massive, massive stock of portfolio, right? And this is how every state government, every local government, the federal government across the country have these properties. And many of it are not even known where they are. No clear database of where each of these assets are. Of course, the GIS teams are good now at being able to pinpoint land location, various government assets nationwide, but we need to go beyond just knowing that these land locations and properties exist to get to the point where we now actually know what each building is like, how many buildings are in the site, what each building is like, what's inside each of these buildings, the state, their conditions, what they are being used for, right? So that a proper plan can be made to extend their use, increase functionality, because there are so many wasted opportunities, why there's so much need for space to manage public services and provide and even meet up with requirements for commercial and other necessities to boost the economy. And these things are being tied down because there's no proper framework for managing them. Every time we put out a proposal like the one I just described, it goes through a round, merry-go-round of bureaucracy. And so we'll probably need some kind of industry, grouping, a bonding that will bring us all together as a formidable pressure group that can push through an agenda of this nature. And that will require, of course, notable personalities in the system, in the economy, in government, in public sector, in traditional rulers, among opinion leaders to be able to drive change in this direction. The level of waste in public sector infrastructure and property in Nigeria is way too much. Even now, we have, I've been in conversation with the government TV station. Some proposal is already being worked on to see how we can come up with something. Because every time I go for a broadcast for and then I see the infrastructure state, and I'm wondering what exactly can be done, and that's what's leading us to this conversation. I hope that we can all, look in deeper, come up with more proposals, reach out and kind of network with ourselves to see how we can collaborate to push this PPP agenda to the government at the levels we have influence. Okay, so thank you. That's our session for today. I hope this has been useful for those of us who have paid attention and stayed with us to the end. I would like to hear your comments, questions, takeaways. All right, thank you. Adeyinka, please go ahead. Your hand is up.
Paul, well done, good job. God is your strength. You have been there for us. This is another opportunity, an open opportunity for the business advantage you can take as a facility manager. It's a business opportunity, and it's quite. Having said that, now as a facility management company, how do you think we can really go into, because some of these public sectors, they don't really advertise the name facility management company, but then there's a need for them. And from your experience, how do we think we can do this PPP stuff, this public-private partnership? Because they are bound opportunity, as we have said, but as a growing facility manager, as a trained facility manager that just set up a company, how do you think we can collaborate there? What is the best way?
Points. I think the approach that I have deployed that has helped is give me a foot in the door, is to make a proposal to a relevant agency or body like Unilag. My office is in Unilag. I have worked extensively to propose energy efficiency solutions. I know the energy bills have been very heavy, and in times past, I've been invited to do proof of concepts, set up some devices to monitor and show data. So I think that helps, like the one I talked about with NTA, being able to just, walk up to them and make a proposal to offer. It may start like a community service approach where you are trying to support them by giving them advice, doing a free inspection, writing some, some reports that helps them to learn some of the things they can do better. Over time, you can build that into a service contract. If it's below a certain threshold that they can handle internally, they can say, okay, fine, why don't you do this? We have approval limits to do this or do that. But if it goes beyond a certain threshold that have to go to be bidded, they will bid it out and let you know, check the publications and then submit bids for that. But then if you are appointed as a consultant to now help midwife the entire process, like we did for NCDMB in Biosa, we now end up, writing the specification documentation, helping to evaluate the bidders, and then staying on as quality assurance consultants. in that process. So there are quite a few opportunities, but it starts with you writing a proposal to them to say, I want to help, right? So that's where collaboration starts from.
All right. Thank you, sir. That's okay.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. If you have more questions, put them in the WhatsApp chats or the Telegram chat group, and I'll take all your questions. That's all we're going to take for today. I hope to see you again next week, Thursday, on lunch hour. Have a good afternoon and the rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.